Hello, Louisville. Guess who's coming to dinner? Well, I'm back. Guess who's coming to dinner is back, live and in living color. Everything's not like I want it yet, but because we moved, we were in transition. So you have to roll with it for a minute till I get it like I want it. But I am here today, and actually, I should say that I filmed this yesterday because I was unable to make everything work. I had to go back and get that other internet company that I really didn't want to get. But I did because I have to be back on Facebook and YouTube and my Roku channel so that you all can know what's going on in the world from my perspective, you know, as I invite guests to have a dinner conversation, since we're still not having dinner yet, but we will eventually be having dinner. But this is my salute to veterans today. And I know it was last week. I'm just going to be a show behind with the salute. But I want to salute all the veterans for their service. And I have a connection to the Marines, more so probably than any other group organization in the armed services. My stepfather, John T. Covington, was a Montford Pointe Marine. My mother received his Congressional Medal of Honor posthumously a few years ago before she passed away. And I was always involved in doing things for the Montford Pointe Marine chapter here in Louisville, Kentucky. And Montford Pointe Marines are a group of Marines that went to boot camp in Camp Lejeune, where they were segregated. Okay, now this is during World War II. So later on in the show, we're going to have the president of the Montford Pointe Marines to come on and talk about how they started, what they do, what their mission is now, because they do scholarships. And they bring a lot of youth in that are in the ROTC to get involved and find out more about the Montford Pointe Marines. You always hear about Tuskegee Airmen and Buffalo Soldiers and other groups of that nature, but you very seldom hear about the Montford Pointe Marines. So we're going to put an end to that today. I'd like to send a shout out to my uncle Charles Robert Hammond out in California, retired Marine Corps. My cousin John Henry Johnson over in North Carolina, JJ. My cousin Winifred Hammond. My cousin Jimmy C. Carradine out in California. My cousin Glenn Covington. I think he's down in Atlanta with the family. Glenn Covington. I'd also want to send out another shout out to the Dunn family. Colonel Dunn, Colonel Ken Dunn, V.T. Thomas, Larry Dunn, Rodney Dunn, and also Miss Evelyn Clark. She's a vegetarian. So if I left somebody out, I didn't do it on purpose, and get over it. But today I have a very special guest. I met this young man when I moved to Paris in 1990. And he happens to be one of those rare military men. He was actually a Marine who, when he retired, he stayed in Paris. And he's a singing brother, none other than Bruce Mississippi Johnson.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, Bruce? Bonjour.
Bonjour, ma chère. Comment ça va?
Très bien, très bien. Look, we lived in Paris together, and I don't know if you remember this, Bruce, but you were the first person that invited me to come share your stage.
Oh, was I?
You were the very first. You were at the Bouchon.
Yes.
And you invited me to come up and share your stage. He gave me an opportunity to sing so they would, be introduced to me per se. And from that, I got a gig at the Bouchon because they loved having us Americans at the
They
Bouchon.
did. Yes, they
We
did.
filled it up. You remember all of that?
Oh, absolutely. I remember that. The Bouchon was special.
Oh, it was special, huh?
Very special. Do you remember was Kathy Busby at the bar when you were at the Bouchon? Was she sister from, she had gone to Harvard. Was she running the bar when you worked at the Bouchon? When I worked there, she was there for years. Very short hair.
I don't remember her. I only remember the African brother that used to come all the time. And he was very flamboyant, very outgoing, because he was the one that asked me to explain Thanksgiving to him.
Ah, okay.
And I told him, that, white folks came and took their Indians' land and said, come eat dinner. You might as well, because it's ours now,
Right. I write songs about stuff like that.
Really? I mean, if you look at it like that, but that's kind of like what Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is about. It's all about some of the racial disparities. And I started this last year.
Right.
After the killing of George Floyd, and people were saying, it was never a time to talk about race relations. And so then I was looking that it seemed like it was the time to talk about it. So I wanted to facilitate that conversation because
great initiative.
I'm a child of the civil rights movement. I marched for open housing here in Louisville, and when Dr. King died, my mother took me to his funeral in Atlanta.
Wow.
So my connection is strong. I tell people sometimes, I said, I'm a beret and a leather jacket, short of being a Panther, but you just really don't know me. So hold on one second, Bruce. I had to call him back. That was Mr. Stallard.
Right.
So anyway, tell us your story, Bruce. When did you join the service, and where were you, and how'd you get to Paris?
Okay, so I went to high school in Indianapolis. I was born in Mississippi, as you probably know.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that. I was born in Mississippi. I left Mississippi just before high school, went and lived with my dad in Indianapolis. And while in high school, I joined ROTC. Okay. And at one point, how do I make this a short story? I kind of felt like I wanted to get out and be my own man. I met a Marine recruiter that was like, join us, you can be your own man, this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. And certain things that were going on in my life made that look like a better option
for you. Yeah.
So my dad signed for me on the delayed entry program. So I joined the Marine. I signed for the Marines before I was legal age. And I think I became legal age in boot camp. So I was in boot camp. I went to San Diego with a whole platoon of Marines from Indiana. So the drill sergeant flew to Indiana. We had a government ceremony for us. We all took the plane with the drill sergeant. He flew us back to San Diego. The whole platoon was from Indiana, and got through boot camp. Was stationed at Camp Pendleton at a base called Margarita with I think it was Lima 35 was my company. I was there for about a year. Then I was transferred to Hawaii for 3 years. Okay. While in Hawaii, I did 2 what we call Westpac floats, which took me to Asia to tour Southeast Asia as we kind of patrolled the waters there. Philippines, Hong Kong, Thailand, Korea, all of that. Mm-hmm. After 3 years, my time was up, but I didn't have anything clear as to what I wanted to do. And I remember standing one day with a brother from Alabama, one of my close friends, and it was like, what are you going to do, man? And I was like, one of these offers I had me in his office one day, and he said, you should sign up for Marine Security Guard. So I didn't know much about it. I knew it was like on the cream of the crop, guarding embassies around the world and diplomats and stuff. So I decided to re-enlist I was in for 4 years. I re-enlisted for 3 years. I was in infantry. I was in infantry for the first 4 years. And the last 3 years, I was a Marine Security Guard. So I went to Quantico, Virginia. I did my MSG training there. I was stationed, shipped out to Kinshasa, Zaire, where I lived for 14 months, working at the American Kinshasa, Zaire, where I met a musician that you probably met in Paris called Suleiman Hakim. Did you ever meet Suleiman?
I met Suleiman. Yeah.
The first day I met Suleiman, I was in Marine uniform on duty. He came to the window. He had no money. He was looking for help to get back to Paris. I wasn't even singing full time at the time. He was just
Right.
there with his saxophone at the embassy, and I happened to receive him when he came. So I served there for 14 months, and my time was up. And around December 1982, the 5th of December 1982, I was shipped out to Paris.
Wow.
I was in the American Embassy in Paris for 18 months.
So from Africa, you went to Paris?
Yes.
Well, that's kind of a made in heaven connection, because all the Africans I met when you got to Paris, it was like their second home.
Right. So it was something getting in Paris, because already life in Africa was eye opening. It made me think of something. You get to Africa, you hear people talking about Africa, the motherland, this, that, and the other. To be honest, I didn't feel that connection. I didn't feel received in any special way as a Black American. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some of us, well, I think we understood that we are not, there's some of us that feel like we are not as received because they don't look at us as a part of them. We look at them as a part of us, but they don't look at us as a part of them, really, sometimes.
I agree with you on that. And even farther, I sometimes wonder if the fact that we were slaves doesn't make them feel ashamed of who we are as Black people that got shipped off to America. That's just my own personal thought sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't just living
perspective.
Yeah, so that's where I learned to speak French. And I wasn't just an American in Africa afraid to mingle. I was mingling. I played basketball with the city's basketball team. I did my first gigs live on stage, solo, singing Gil Scott-Heron songs with the African band. My girlfriend was African, and I was there. I was in the middle of it.
Tell me, where did the singing come into your life?
Singing came into my life in high school.
Okay.
I remember, I kind of wonder, in hindsight, I think about, I have a famous singer in my family who I only met one time, and it was heartbreaking because I met him and I couldn't go and see him, and he invited me to come and see him, but I was too young. Jackie Wilson is my mother's first cousin.
Get out of here.
Yes.
Wow.
So my grandmother was Jackie Wilson's aunt. Her sister or her brother was his dad. So I grew up in Mississippi knowing that he was.
What part of Mississippi?
Starkville, Mississippi, where the university, where Mississippi State University is. That's next to
Columbus. My family is Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Yeah. Okay. I've never been to Vicksburg.
I think we mentioned this in passing once or twice.
Probably. So I don't remember singing. My granddad was a preacher. He had a 16 section missionary Baptist church. I never sang as a kid. Never opened my mouth to sing. So not in the choir, nothing. And I got to Indianapolis. I don't know how it happened. I started singing a little bit with one of my friends who used to love Michael Jackson. And I don't know, we just would sing harmonies. I don't know how it just happened. And then one day I was in a class in high school talking while the teacher was teaching. And he looked at me and said, "Johnson, shut up. But you do have a nice baritone voice. Go see the choir director. He's a friend of mine." And I went to see him and I joined the choir. And then the next thing you know, I don't know, fast forward a little bit, I ended up singing in the church choir. I don't know how I got in the church choir, but I ended up singing solo in the church choir for a couple of performances. Mm-hmm. But I'd already signed for the Marines. And I remember working at a service station in high school and singing while I was cleaning some guy's window. And the guy called me over and said, "Oh, you got a nice baritone voice. Would you like to come out and audition for a professional choir in Ohio?" But I'd already signed for the Marines. So if that was meant to happen, it wasn't going to happen then. So I went off to the Marines, sing in the shower, maybe warble chestnuts roasting on open fire at Christmas in a cappella or something.
Yeah.
But it really happened. The time that I really felt it happen and started making money with it was in Africa.
Wow. What happened in Africa?
Well, I was on stage. So one night I'm in a club.
Okay.
Slow dancing with the lady and singing in her ear. And she's like, "Oh, you got a nice voice. I've got some friends who have a band. I want to introduce you to them." She introduces me to this band called the Babungle Stars. And from there, one of the Marines turned me on to Gil Scott-Heron. I heard his voice and thought, well, that sounds like something I could do.
Sounds like you, huh?
Yeah. I thought, well, I can, I wasn't into that kind of music at the time. I wasn't into such deep music, but I started out singing his music, and I wonder how much has that influenced what I write today. But anyway, I started doing gigs.
Probably a lot, because he had a message in his music. He was a message music singing brother.
Absolutely. I even got a chance to meet him in Paris a couple of times. But yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I went to see
That's
him.
great.
Gig.
Let me tell everyone, the way that I would describe you is I said he's a cross between Gil Scott and Al Jarreau. I said, now, if you roll them two up, then you got Bruce Johnson.
All right.
Because I was like, this big old fine brother singing his butt off. And you just gave us that Gil Scott vibe. There's a song that I used to ask you about. I don't know if you remember, that I wanted to learn because you sang it. And it's called Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most. Do you remember that
song? I still sing that song every now and then. I still sing it when I got my jazz gigs. I still love that song. What a song, you know?
Bruce, I mean, you turned me on to it. I still have never, I started rehearsing it, but it's not an easy song to sing.
Yeah, I don't.
And I just really have never performed it, but it's on my bucket list.
Oh, you haven't performed it? You know what? I think when I was singing it back in the day, I don't think I had added the verse to it. I think I started adding the verse much later. I think there's a verse.
Oh, you do a verse to it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful verse. There's a saying, oh, says that love is blind. Soon we're often told, seek and ye shall find. Is that the right one?
Yeah.
That's the same.
Is that?
No, that's not someone to watch over me. What is
someone to watch over me?
Yes, I can't remember what it is, but there's a beautiful verse to it.
Oh, I have to look that up, because that might make it easier for me to get into that.
This year has got me feeling like a horse that's never left the post. I lie in my room, staring up at the ceiling. Spring can really hang you up. Yeah. Yeah, I love that song. Great song.
Wow, that's wonderful. So
that's how I came to singing. So that's how I came to singing.
Paris. So you're working at the embassy?
Yeah, I was working
at the embassy.
Yeah, I was on the gate at the embassy for 18 months. Lived on Rue La Boissy, the one that runs down to the Champs-Élysées. But I mean, for me personally, the Marines was a tough place for me to go. And I was thinking about this the other day before we even talked. I was thinking the problem that I had with the Marines probably wasn't a problem with the Marines as much as it was with the soldiers that were in the Marines.
Okay.
The first time I saw a KKK cross burn was on a Marine base in Camp Pendleton, broad daylight. Whoa. So for me, this was back in the 70s. Okay, fair enough. It was back in the 70s, but end of the 70s. But for me, I kind of feel like in hindsight that my heart was in the right place, because serving for the country, I think, is the most honorable thing that a man could do. You're gonna donate your time and your life to the country. For me, that's poetry.
Okay.
I get in, and the first thing I see is racism.
Yeah.
The first thing I see is racism. So it broke my heart already, that. And the other little, issues and things. But, I can't say that I didn't make great friendships, that everything was all negative, but it did. I think that may have played in me not going longer than 7 years, possibly, but maybe I just wasn't military material for life. Everybody's not made for a career in the military.
Yeah. It's like everything has its time and place.
Right.
And, it's when you're done with that, okay, I'm done. It's time to move on, because then you had, no pun intended, maybe really found your voice.
Yeah, maybe. Because for me, when that started happening, and I got a taste of how I could touch people, I was gone. Even though I was still in there, I was gone. I found something else that I felt that I could do.
What made you stay in Paris?
Firstly, when I left Africa, I fell in love with Paris the moment I landed. Yeah. I fell in love with the city. I've been in Africa, and although life in Africa was like you had super rich people and super poor people, and they would take you out when you arrived. They would take you out on a culture shock tour, is what they called it, and you would really see some people bad off. But I tell you one thing, I don't think I've ever seen people that looked as happy as the Africans that had nothing. that was a lesson. That was a lesson. And
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't have anything, a lot of the people that I saw always smiling, of course you're going to find people that are not happy, but I thought that was that was a strange way to look at, it doesn't take much to be happy.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can be happy. You can have your issues, but you can still be happy or generous and this, that, and the other.
You can find some kind of peace somewhere.
Right.
In your circumstances, yeah.
Right. So going to Paris, I fell in love with the city, fell in love with the girl, started singing. One of the Marines was taking piano lessons, and the guy who taught the piano lessons was also a voice teacher from Memphis who lived there. Did you ever meet Stacey McAdams? He used to be the musical director at the Hollywood Savoy. Yeah. What? He was a musical director at the Hollywood Savoy for a lot of years.
Now the Hollywood Savoy was the restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I had a problem when I first came to Paris. Not a problem, but I didn't like singing them while people were eating. I didn't like that.
I understand. I can understand, maybe because you had already come from Vegas and all. If I remember correctly, you were in Vegas, right?
Yes.
So you were in Vegas and you'd already probably performed on another level, and then all of a sudden I'm going up, and that's like the first venue I played in, because I took one voice lesson from him, and he was like, if you get a repertoire jazz, I'll give you a gig after one voice lesson. So I was like, cool. Wow. And I was still in the Marines, so I was sitting on duty listening to Lou Rawls and Ella and Sarah Vaughan and all these people, and learned the standards. Then I met the guys from the Hollywood Savoy. There was a guy called Gus Namath who had played with Keith Jarrett. I played with for many years. I played with a guy called Michael Silva, who played with Sammy Davis for 13 years. You look at YouTube at some of the early Sammy Davis stuff, you see that guy there. Jack Ferrier, who had been saxophonist with Glenn Miller. He performed on In the Mood, on the recording of In the Mood. I would hire these guys, and they were like my teacher. I'd be on stage, and they would be there playing the songs and waiting to tell me when I got it wrong, and that was my University of Music and Jazz standard.
Okay, I hear you.
So that's when I just stayed in Paris. I didn't have anything to go back to in the States. I didn't necessarily want to rush back to family. Life was good, and I just stayed and just kept gigging.
Well, I left Paris because my parents were getting older.
Okay.
Otherwise, I tell people today, today I could move back to Paris in a heartbeat.
Right.
I mean, today, you tell me I can go to Paris tomorrow, I'm out.
Right.
I'm out. It was a time in my life that I felt I didn't feel the racism. I didn't feel the fear of the streets, any of that. You know what I'm saying? There was a sense of freedom that I'd never sensed before. But then you look back at the stories, Josephine's story and James Baldwin's story, and why they were so drawn to Paris, because in Paris they were free. They didn't feel all the adversities and the discrimination that they felt in the States. Home.
Yeah.
They in Paris, they were revered.
Right.
Their lives were, Dexter Gordon. Come on. You look at all the Black musicians and artists that made Paris home.
Right. There were a lot.
People want to know why. All I can say is just go stay for a minute.
Right. I think Quincy Jones were there for a minute. And so I understood that. We can't pretend that we are going to find racist people. I found racist people in Paris too, but it's not the same.
Right.
It's not like, it's more like racism is ignorant, full stop. But there was something there. The encounters that I had were always silly, ignorant folks.
You know what it is, Bruce? What I found out, what I figured out, this is my assessment. They said, French people don't like Americans. I said, French people don't like French people.
That's true too.
They don't particularly care about each other.
Right.
So I stopped taking it personally.
Right.
But I learned that that's how I learned to speak French much better than when I first got there, is if you at least made an attempt to speak their language, then you had a conversation.
Yeah, they would embrace it.
A relationship.
Right.
They had more respect for you. But if you just say, excuse me, can you tell me where so-and-so, you have to take that basic, la poste. Where is the in the taxi cab? Je voudrais Rue Saint Germain de Prix. Take me where I want to go.
Right.
So I started telling people. I said, it's not that. It's if you don't try to speak their language, they are not going to speak yours.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
They just are not.
And a lot of them can
Bruce,
speak it.
I wanna do this. Do you have a minute to hang out?
I do.
Okay. I want you to hang out with me and let me introduce you to the president of the Montford Pointe Marines, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna play some of your music. How about that?
Okay, that's good.
I just don't want him to be.
I got you. You don't want to be.
He needs to go have dinner for real. What's up, Mr. Stallard?
Nothing much, Mr. Carter. How you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Look at you, all dressed up in your garb. I love it. Well, thank you for coming on. Guess who's coming to dinner? How things been going for you?
Everything's been going great. We just been going great. Yes, it has.
You see, Bruce is a former Marine.
Not a Marine. Period.
Yes. Pardon? Yeah. That
a Marine. Period. No former.
Oh.
Okay. Right. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Always a
That's
Marine.
right.
Okay.
That's right. Always one. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want you to come on as president of. I was telling everyone a little earlier about the Montford Pointe Marines because I said they've told the story about Tuskegee Airmen and Buffalo Soldiers. I mean, they go back, but they never have told Montford Pointe Marine story.
Nobody's asked people to tell. There have been some people who wanted to, but I'm always glad to tell about Montford Pointe, the history that I know, and the history that has told to me by the living legends who went through that period of time. Mm-hmm. And it's fascinating, and there's many people who do not know what went on back in those days. Mr. Bruce,
give us a short summary of that.
Okay, the summary of that, begin off, the Marine Corps was founded in 1775.
Okay. In
a tavern in Philadelphia. They said that no people of color would be able to join the Marine Corps. It took from 1775 to 1941 before any African American was able to join the Marine Corps. They had no place to train them when President Truman signed the Executive Order 8802 saying, Marine Corps, you have to start enlisting blacks in the Marine Corps. Okay. They could not send them to Paris Island or San Diego because it was segregated. Okay. They found a place in Jacksonville, North Carolina called Montford Pointe. It was a jungle-like, flea-infested, snakes, everything you can imagine was there because they wanted to send these African-American men to a place where they would quit. They would leave. But over the hutch, it was fixed. They said, failure is not an option. We got to do this. Mm-hmm. We got to make it. We got to do it because of the people who are watching us, who are looking at us, who are putting down that they won't be able to survive this situation.
Yeah.
And they did. From 1942 to 1949, 20,000 African Americans went through Montford Pointe. Wow. And it was unbelievable.
That speaks volumes right there.
It does. Volume. Anybody in the United States that wanted to be a Marine had to go through Montford Pointe in that particular time. No other place to send them. They had to go through that Montford Pointe there.
So that was the only place that they sent black.
Only place, yes.
Wow.
In 1949 of September, they closed it as a black boot camp. Mm-hmm. And they started sending African Americans to Paris Island and San Diego.
Okay.
And there was a month in between the time of September, October, that they did not send the blacks to Montford Pointe. And so I know some friends I thought were Montford Pointers, but they weren't. They was in that little month
gap
time that they were not accepting them at Montford Pointe.
Yeah, because my stepfather, John T. Covington,
I was going to say that.
The Marines. Pardon?
I was going to tell him that Mr. Covington was one of the first ones, not exactly the first one, but right there when it started. And then Mr. Thomas Cork was in 1947.
Okay.
Okay, they are now having a Montford Point Day, which is August the 28th. It's called Montford Point. They had a big celebration down in Jacksonville at Camp Johnson just past in August. And
Did you go?
No, I didn't go. I couldn't go. Really flying and this travel, this virus thing, it just kind of got people,
right.
you know. But anyway, they celebrated because the first man, I can't remember his name right. He was the first one to step on Montford Point. That was August the 26th, 1943. And now they have it called the Montford Point Day because this was the very first one to go into that segregated boot camp. And to take it all of, they had all white instructors, drill instructors, sergeants, colonels, everybody who was in charge were white because they had no blacks.
Right.
Had no blacks to train these men. And they trained them. And And eventually they got to where they could promote African-American men as DIs to train the African-American men that were there at boot camp. And the tale is that most of the African-American men who were under these new guys that were DIs, they were worse on them than the whites because they wanted, you know, as anything goes,
move up.
They wanted to be better than the whites, better than anybody. So they put them to the mill to be better. And it's just like anything else, you a football player, baseball player, blacks got to excel extremely hard to make it. And that's what they did in boot camp. They made it. And there was several people who come from one man, Hirschmark Johnson, came from the Army over to the Marine Corps. Edgar Huff come from the Navy over to the Marine Corps. And he's the first black African-American sergeant major that the Marine Corps had.
This what?
He's a black first African sergeant major that the Marine Corps had.
African-American sergeant major.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a top in the listed rank in the Marine Corps, the tops. He is there. And then later on, they promoted to Hirschmark Johnson, and he became, they labored on him with Congress and to name Cam Johnson, which was Montford Point. Montford Point now is named Cam Johnson after Hirschmark Johnson, after a black man.
Wonderful. Did that happen when they wanted to rename all of the bases that had
this happened
names?
This happened a long time ago. This was a long time ago. The Montford Point, well, back up a little bit, in 1965, a bunch of men got together and organized the Montford Point Marine Association. And it was formed in Philadelphia also.
Okay.
And so when they did that, they went to Congress and the Senate and all up there and lobbied for them to name Montford Point after the first black drill instructor, Hirschmark Johnson. And it took them a while, but they found the reason why they call it Hirschmark is, as Bruce probably knows, if you're in the service long enough, your stripes and the years that you serve meet in your elbow. And when he bent his arm up to salute anything, those marks would come right together. So that's why they call him Hirschmark Johnson. He'd been in long enough and did enough that those marks would come together at his elbow.
Just like that.
So now, so they went and did that. And so now Montford Point is called Hirschmark Johnson. Cam Johnson, right? But now we realize a lot of times we think back because a lot of people, they don't remember Montford Point, but they realize they remember Cam Johnson. But they don't really go with Montford Point because Cam Johnson overshadows Montford Point. The history is kind of faded away a little bit because it's named after a black man, Johnson. So that
they don't want to tell that story, that history, that critical race
the critical
theory,
part.
as they say. They don't want anybody to know about all of that.
But see, I
Wow.
Can't
learned
let that disappear. I know
no,
you're working on that, huh?
I learned all my history. I learned from Mr. Covington, Mr. Thomas Cork, and many other original Montford pointers. I listened to what they said. I listened to the stories that they told, and I realized that everybody can't tell the same story and it be a lie. It has to be
Okay.
truth in it. It has to
Okay.
be true because they say you can always, if you tell the truth, you'll never forget it. But if you tell a lie, you'll forget it.
You're bound to forget it.
Yeah.
So let
So
me ask
I
you
always
this,
want.
Mr. Stallard. Are you
Mhm.
all going to get back on track with your annual scholarship fundraiser next
Yeah,
year?
we're sure hoping so. I'm going to the hotel sometime in the next day or two to see what we can do and if we can hold it. This virus thing, a few months ago, I was almost sure we could do it again, but now it's gone crazy again. So I don't know what we're gonna do. I really don't know. I really wish we could say I could say yes, we're gonna do it, but I can't say right now. But
Right.
I'm praying and wishing and hoping that we can get it done again because 2 years out is a long
It's a
time.
lot
But
not
but
to
we're
have it.
still going. But we're still going to give the students from Black Achievers their scholarship money. We're still going to do that. We're still going to.
Okay.
But as far as holding the banquet, I don't. I wish I could say yes right now, but I don't know because if we did drop
Well,
out
when
of
you
the
find
Kentucky,
out if you decide to do it, just call me up and I'll bring you back on the show and you can make a nice announcements and we can sell some tickets.
okay, I'll be glad to do that. But I'm hoping that we can. So, and all the other guys and gals on in our group, we want to have it again. So, because it's been a benefits to us, to Black students, is who we want to help out, and we really want to do it. And so, if we decided to do it again, I would definitely let you know. But it's just nobody knows what's going to happen.
Right.
Nobody knows.
So I see that from last year that Colonel Dunn wrote a book about Camp Lejeune. Tell
Right.
me the
He
connection
did.
with Camp Lejeune and Montford Point.
Camp
Are they
Lejeune.
the
Okay.
same place or?
No, this Camp Lejeune is just like here in Louisville. Camp Lejeune is like Louisville, St. Matthews, Shively. They're
Okay.
little branch off on the big branch,
Okay.
and it sits on the one corner of Camp Lejeune. Now we
Okay.
do Montford Point we do have a monument there, a
Okay.
fantastic monument that sits right on what the street runs right in front of Camp Lejeune called Lejeune Boulevard, and
Okay.
this monument sits right there, and it is for anybody to see. Anybody that's passing by there can see this monument. We worked for years, and finally we were succeeded and has it built, and it is a marvelous place. And a lot of people I talked to that have been there have been by there to see it, and it's just open to the public, and anybody can go in and out. And we also have a museum there that people can go and buy artifacts of some of the things that the Montford Pointers used back in those days, pictures and books and things like that. Yeah, Colonel Dunn, he did write a book on that. And another
Yes.
thing that
Yes.
Colonel Dunn is doing, he's teaching classes on diversity.
Right.
And when he comes to Louisville and saw our banquet a few years ago, several times, he went to the Commandant of the Marine Corps and told him he has a chapter that has a diverse group of people that comes to their banquet every year. And so right now he is teaching at Quantico diversity in the Marine Corps and
Right.
using Louisville chapter as a guidepost of our diversity group, because we have everybody who wants to come to our banquets, they come, and that's where he
Yeah.
got
You have
all that
beautiful
information about
banquets.
diversity. Yeah. So
Miss
and,
Emily was crazy about coming to a Montford Point
I
Marine
know it.
banquet.
I know it. And I didn't invite anybody. If anybody wanted to come, they were invited. They were invited.
Okay.
So that's what we did. So that's where Colonel Dunn got his information and got the profile to do a diversity group. And he's been here in Louisville. He's been to Lexington, doing the same, teaching the same thing, but he does more at Quantico.
Well, what's your rank so I can address you correctly?
I was corporal.
Corporal Stallard.
Corporal
I want
Stallard.
to thank you for coming to have this dinner conversation. And so I'm gonna let you go, but you can stay around and listen, because we're gonna check out some of what was your rank, Bruce?
I was a sergeant.
Sergeant Bruce Mississippi Johnson's music.
Well, see, he was 7 years, I 4 years. If I had stayed long, I would have been sergeant. But after being to Vietnam and back, I didn't want any more of what I went through. I was ready to depart that part of my service time. So, and if I had been over it again, I would have got sergeant and maybe more for going back. But
that's what I did. I got it for re-upping. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to go back to Vietnam, so I departed.
Ooh, I don't blame you.
I feel you.
I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough, you know.
Mr. Stallard, thank you for coming on.
Okay, anytime.
Your time and giving us a bit of that Montford Pointe Marines history. You know,
I love telling
very
it.
close to my heart.
Because a lot of people just don't realize what Mr. Covington and other African American men went through back in the 40s, and just to serve the country. Their slogan was
just to serve the country.
They had to fight to be the right to fight. You know.
The scholarship is called the Covington Hagen
Scholarship. Yes.
Scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
after Mr. Covington and Mr. Hagen, who was the assistant VA director in DC. And then he was from Louisville, and then he came here and he was director of Kentucky and Southern Indiana VA here. And when they both had, that's when we voted on the name of the scholarship, Covington Hagen Scholarship.
Okay, wonderful. Tell Miss Janie I said hello. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. And if you decide to have the banquet, come on back on. We'll drum up some folks and sell some tickets.
And no former Marine, always a Marine.
Always a Marine. Okay.
Simplify.
All right.
Let's simplify.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Take care.
We're glad. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
Wow. Okay. I learned something. I didn't know anything about him.
Really?
Yeah, I just looked him up and I read up on him afterwards.
Okay. So Bruce, let's go get some music.
Okay.
First, you got an upcoming gig for a festival.
Yeah.
What you're gonna be doing? What, some paying tribute to Gil Scott?
Yeah, I will, because I found out it's this venue, this theater director, a friend of mine, who does a lot of events with. He worked in a university here that helped underprivileged kids learn to sing, dance, act, the whole thing. So he's had a lot of famous kids that he's taught acting to that have made it big in Hollywood and stuff. And he once invited me on an evening of Langston Hughes poetry and Gil Scott Heron. I did Gil Scott. We did Langston Hughes. We did Bessie Smith. We did an evening with Bessie Smith. Yeah, just beautiful stuff. Yeah, and so he's involved in this. And I discovered the last time I went to this venue that the guy who runs the venue, who owns the venue, used to book Gil Scott Heron in London. I didn't even know that. So he has a special connection with the man in the music. So that's kind of where I started. And it's during London Jazz Week. I just proposed it to him. I said, let's hit some Gil Scott Heron music, and they were down for it. So we're going to do it. Yeah.
Let me see if I can bring my piece up.
Okay.
I'm going to see. I'm not all that. I've gotten much better, but I haven't done it for a minute because I was moving. So let me see which one. There's that one right there. Okay. Let's see. We're going to see if we can hear Bruce singing a little Gil Scott.
It stands out on the highway. like a creature from another time. It inspires the biggest questions. What's that? For their mothers as they ride. But no one thought to think about the babies. How they would survive. And we almost lost the toy. This time, how are we gonna get over losing our mind? Just 30 miles from Detroit stands a giant power station. It ticks each night as the city sleeps. Seconds from annihilation. No one stopped to think about the babies, or how they would survive. Said we almost lost it all. This time, how are we gonna get over losing our minds? The sheriff of Monroe County showed up disasters on his mind. And what would Campson would say to you if she was still alive? That when it comes to people's safety, money wins out every time. Well, we almost lost Detroit. This time, how are we gonna get over losing our mind?
Bruce?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to get a little taste of that. But I want you to play the song that you wrote.
Okay. The song that I wrote after the Floyd incident. And I wrote it because I was really touched by that, naturally being a Black man and naturally navigating the idea that could absolutely have been me, or my cousin, or my uncle, or my dad, all the stuff that's been going on in America. And so I decided that, because I had been doing this song by Son House for a long time, Death Letter Blues, that I really love singing. It's a powerful story. And then I kind of liked the rawness of that song. So I kind of took that rawness and put it into my own message to policemen that are doing the job for the wrong reason. That's my message. Yeah. If you're doing it for the wrong reason, go somewhere else. Leave it for the folks that are doing it for the right reason.
Right.
So that's what the song is about. In short, in short, that's what it's about. So what do? I pull up the.
You gotta do your share thing.
Yeah, I'm sharing. Oh, video file. How's that work?
Oh, okay.
I got it. Yeah.
Click the video file and it'll make it come on, and then you.
Here we go. Okay.
Okay.
And how did you full screen that?
Now you just click on it.
Yeah.
And it should come up on the screen. Well, actually, I don't know. I can add it.
There it is.
Let's work this technology. Shoot.
Mr. Policeman, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. Mr. Policeman, bringing hate to the beat, you ought to listen. 'Cause the scene will come out of a well-stitched plan. Well, if you keep sowing doubt in a brother man, well, Mr. Policeman, at the end of the day, that badge you claim dead. Mr. Policeman, if you can't walk away, no need to shame it. 'Cause you chose to face, oh, the criminal few. So why reach for a gun when your word could do? Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey. Hey, 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 hey. Mr. Policeman, do you know about the God that my folks fear?
Yeah.
Mr. Policeman, the one that takes the wheel when you draw near. Well, the brother's tired of living this aggression and fear, and the sister's tired of losing all that she holds dear. Yeah.
Ah. All right. Wait a minute. I got to get everybody back. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay.
How do we get back?
No. I'm going to get you back. I'm going to take this. Let me see how I need to bring you back. I bring myself back. Bruce, I have no idea. Oh, okay. I got the little dots up here. Remove from stream. Then I bring you back.
Yeah, perfect.
Wow. That's a nice piece, Bruce. That's
Thank
a
you.
really nice piece. Well, I'm going to tell you, I've had palpitations just the thought. I'm saying this is the first show that I've done. Might be going closer to 2 months than a month because I was moving.
Right.
And then my internet wouldn't work. I tried to get rid of one company and take on another one, and the other one wasn't happening. So, but this will be the first live show back. At first I was Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, T.O. dinner.
Yeah.
And now I'm Guess Who's Coming to the number 2 dinner.
Oh, nice.
Because, it's just the two of us.
Right.
And this makes me feel that I can go to some other places all over the world that I just don't have to be talking about stuff that's happening right here in Louisville. So I can reach out.
Absolutely.
So I'm ready. That's what I wanted. This is my second season. So
Right.
This is officially the first show of my second season.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And see, tonight and tomorrow, I'll be reaching out to all of our mutual friends to tell them what time it comes on so they can check you out. People like Stephanie,
Yeah.
up in DC.
Yes.
She'll be thrilled. Teos and Michael and Clem. Clem's not on Facebook, but this is also will be on YouTube.
Right.
So we're going to be on Facebook, YouTube, and Roku. Roku is my own channel.
Okay.
And everything is under Jantastic Productions.
Okay.
And the one thing that I wanted to mention and say thank you for being a part of French Kiss.
Oh, yeah. People don't know about French Kiss, do they? Have you tell them about French Kiss yet?
Let me tell you, but Bruce, I still work on it. I've done a rewrite. And I kind of brought it up to present day because that's still my baby. That's the first musical I ever produced.
Wow.
And that was an adventure all of its own. All the stories that go around French Kiss, my reading Josephine's biography.
Right.
And how much I have in common with her.
Right.
And then doing French Kiss, that we actually got to do it for the 50th celebration of D-Day in the Normandy region where we've got the Omaha Beach.
Yeah.
So I had to learn about the history. So once I got into that, every time I now watch documentaries about World War II.
Wow. Wow.
Because I'm there. The things that I remember, the things that I was able to take from that experience, because what I did is there was a movie called An American in Paris.
Yep. Yep.
French Kiss is my version of a Black American in Paris.
Okay. That's a good idea because nobody talks about that. People know, but nobody really it could be celebrated in a different way. Yeah. That's nice. I like that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was starting as to how it was a love affair between France and America, and how that came about, dealt with the soldiers that when they got out of when they left World War II, a lot of them didn't come home because they didn't want to come home to racism.
Right.
They stayed. So you have a lot of Black families in Paris because of the soldiers that stayed.
Yeah. I was one of them. I stayed in Paris too.
So you're a prime example of that to me.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons. I wasn't rushing back to Indiana. I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I didn't know about the Indianapolis part because you're 100 miles away from me.
Right, right.
So look, you're born in Mississippi like my mom, but then you move and go to high school. You go to high school in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, yeah.
And I'm right up the road in Louisville.
That's crazy. Oh, I have a cousin who was big basketball guy in Louisville.
What was his name?
Kenny Payne. You know who Kenny Payne is? Kenny Payne was like one of the biggest scouts. He was with Capriati, I believe the coach's name is, at the university.
That name sounds from Kenny Payne. Okay, no, you talking about Calipari. He was the scout for Calipari up at UK. That's who Kenny Payne is.
Yeah, I don't know who he was scouting for.
John Calipari is the coach at the
University. Exactly. Not only was he the scout, he also played there.
Okay, but
went
now
to the
let me
NBA.
tell you about my basketball connection. Hold up. I am a co-founder of the Dirt Bowl. Did you ever hear the Dirt Bowl when you
No.
were? Okay. The Dirt Bowl is a playground basketball tournament. Like have you heard of And1?
And1. I've heard of And1.
Or the Rutger
yeah, of course.
playground.
Of course.
The Dirt Bowl is that in Louisville, Kentucky.
Wow.
And 2019, we celebrated 50 years because they still have the Dirt Bowl here in Louisville.
Wow.
And when I moved back home, they kept saying, Janice, didn't you start the Dirt Bowl? I said, yeah. And so now that has become a part of my legacy. You didn't know that I played women's basketball in college.
Oh, did you? I didn't know that.
I was an athlete before I ever knew that I could sing.
Oh.
I ran track. I was a cheerleader. I played basketball at Kentucky State. That's where I went to school.
Right.
And in my first year of teaching, I was the girls' basketball coach. We didn't win a game. Didn't win a game, Bruce.
You were there. You were there representing, though.
Yeah, I was, because I ran out every time they run up and down the court. I ran with them. Now the plays, I had another kid on the team that she was really good. She was just a good old fashioned tomboy, and she
Right.
knew how to work plays out. And one little girl had never played before. She had 2 left legs. She was like 5'10", and it was just such a treat and a joy to watch these kids do something that they'd never done before, and they didn't know. I'd never coached anybody before. I played, but
That's funny. It'd be fun. It'd be good if I could get. I haven't talked to him in many years. I'll reach out and see if he'd be interested in coming on. If you want to talk to him,
oh,
he is,
sure, I'd love to.
He's the assistant coach at New York Knicks now.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
All right now.
Yeah, first cousin.
I watch NBA every day, all day.
Yeah, so if you watch New York Knicks, you'll see him there. Yeah. So
Wow.
So cool. Okay, the Dirt Bowl. All right.
Dirt Bowl. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's
Bruce, I want to say I thank you so much. This has been wonderful catching up. We haven't seen each other since 1994. Because remember, the last night that I saw you was a night that I was able to pay everybody for French Kiss.
Oh, was it?
Remember everybody came to the Meridian Hotel that I
Right.
finally got the money from the investor.
Right.
I didn't get as much money as I thought I was going to get, but I got the money from the investor. And because the band, not any of you or Mike or Teos or Tori, God rest her soul.
Yeah.
You, Mike, Tori, Teos, Debbie Davis.
Yes.
We're all a part of French Kiss.
Yeah. Debbie's in the States. You know that already, though. Yeah.
No, I thought Debbie moved back to Paris.
I don't know that she moved back, but I knew she was in the
I
States.
know her dad passed away. Debbie Davis.
Okay. I didn't know that. Maybe she did.
And well, I never got really close with Janice Jameson, and she just lost her husband.
Yeah, that was a while back. Yeah, Jonice. Yeah.
So, but the band, one day before everybody got paid, Bruce, they called me out. I think about it. I see Frank Cittibone, because naturally being French, they over exaggerate.
Right.
I said, Daddy, you told us you had the money. I said, I never told you I had the money. They said, yes, you told us. I said, I never told you I had the money. I said, you want to know why? I know I never told you I had the money. He says, why? I said, because you never asked. And they got so quiet. They kept wanting to know, who is this investor? I said, well, that ain't none of y'all's business.
Right.
It's on me, but it was, all of that was, God made it happen, because anybody could have asked me, if anybody asked me for an advance or said anything like, did I have the money? French Kiss would not have happened.
Right.
But it did, and that's my baby, and I still nurture it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but one of these days, when you see French Kiss 2 pop up, say, oh, I know that's Janice. She got French going. Yes, sir. But I want to say thank you again.
It has been a joy seeing you. Been a joy seeing you again.
Well, it's been a pleasure just catching up. That's 94. I've been from Paris 25 years. So it's been how long I've seen you? 25, 26 years.
Yeah.
So take care of yourself. Take care of your family.
I will, and we're in touch now, so we'll be able to reach out.
Yeah, and if you want to send me some music or let me tell my audience about where they can find you. Do you have your own YouTube channel or anything?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Bruce Mississippi
Johnson.
Johnson.
Bruce Mississippi Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my website and my YouTube. Yeah.
So thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you letting me do this with you. I was really happy seeing you. It's been really good.
Lots of love to you. Lots of love to you, sweetie. Take care.
You too. Bye.
It's dinner time somewhere. Bon appetit, darling.
Merci. Au revoir. Au revoir.
Au revoir. A bientôt.
A bientôt.
Wow. Oh. Mm. When you meet people in your life, that you cross paths with, God is good. I've had a fabulous journey. I'm not finished, but, that's just one of the people that kind of catapulted me into my little place when I was in Paris, France. And that was, his name is Bruce Lester Johnson, but his stage name is Bruce Mississippi Johnson. He's claiming his heritage, he's claiming his birthplace. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. And on that note, I have to say it's dinner time. Bon appetit. I will see you on Friday.